Life and Adventures of Jack Engle, an autobiography, in which the reader will find some familiar characters, by Walt Whitman. Read by Frank Blissett. Chapter 9. Covert succeeded in getting the nomination, and afterwards there were 2 or 3 informal gatherings at his house to take measures for securing his election. By his request, I was present at one of these, for, since his nomination, he had of course grown very polite, to me among the rest. He wanted Ephraim Foster's vote and influence, which was not small, and for those meetings it was his object to have them pretty full. When I knocked at Covert's door, it was just after dark. I found I had anticipated the time, and the lawyer was not yet home. In answer to my pull at the bell, a young woman opened the door, and the light of a street lamp falling on her face reminded me, as people are often vaguely and provokingly reminded of features they have seen before, but where or how they cannot tell. The young woman was neatly dressed in Quaker style, though with warmer colors and a little more of the ornamental than is common in that rigid sect. What the lamplight allowed me to see of her face impressed me very agreeably. She asked me in, said that Mr. Covert would doubtless be home in a little while, and, if I wished to wait, I could walk in the room. I would wait, but I sat down by a table in the wide hall, on which there were books and newspapers. The young woman stopped a moment to raise the light that hung suspended from the ceiling, and as she did so, and her face was turned upward, the puzzle of having seen her somewhere again bothered me. Where could it have been? I was almost tempted to say as much to her, but she had arranged the lamp and walked quietly down the basement stairs. Probably Covert's daughter, thought I, and if so, I could not congratulate her on her parentage. But no, she hadn't any of his features. Her eyes were gray, with a tender, affectionate expression. Her face blooming and healthy. Her figure plump, almost to the point of being fat. And her figure, hands, neck, and so on, all finely formed. Besides, she was very nimble in her movements, with all her plumpness. As I saw by her management of the lamp and her walk past me to the head of the stairs, I even listened to satisfy myself of the lightness and rapidity of her step. You see, I had arrived, of late, at quite a degree of interest in all of these important matters. Particularly since my acquaintance with Inez, I found myself worked up to an astonishing amount of curiosity that way. When Covert came, he brought a couple of friends with him, and we adjourned to the parlor. More people dropped in, and the room was quite full. The 2 friends were Alderman Rye, an opulent wholesale grocer, and the Honorable Isaac Leach, a gentleman of fortune. Although these were alike supporters of Mr. Covert, they were as far as the poles asunder in their political principles. Principles? Yes, that is what they called them. "Why, sir," I heard Alderman Rye's voice above the rest, Is not this evidence enough of the poisonous consequences of Whig misrule? Isn't the country already almost ruined? Ruined, sir?" Fortunately, I was seated in the back room, but I heard those shrill voices in front there quite plainly enough. "That we are down, sir, that we are down as a commercial people, I grant you," was the response of the Honorable Isaac Leach. "But not from anything done by the Whig party. Sir, that party is the palladium of our freedom. Sir, the Locofocos would utterly destroy this nation in 5 years if they had their own way. Their leaders are blind to truth, and the whole party is regardless of law." "Law? The Whigs ride over the Constitution without mercy. Bargains, corruption is their game." "Did not General Jackson remove those deposits without the shadow of legal authority?" "But who spent money like water in bribing members of Congress?" "The veto power, sir, is dangerous to our liberties." Then a medley of "Bargain and corruption! Clay! Adams! I deny it, sir. I can prove it," and so forth and so on. A pretty fair sample, this, of what happened whenever the Honorable Isaac Leach came in contact with Alderman Rye. They seemed not only to enjoy it, but to think they were holding a very profound discussion of much interest to their hearers. Covert had some difficulty in choking off these angry disputes, and in broaching the object of the meeting. That was, to make some movement which should carry abroad the appearance of his being popular with both parties. There was a probability of some discontent among the regulars, and he had a hope of getting a good many votes on the opposition side. I did not stay to take part in it, but departed, after asking Covert if there was anything he wanted me to do for him. He pulled out of his pocket a greasy letter, much creased in what appeared to have been unsatisfactory efforts to fold it, and said that he had a good deal to attend to, and it would oblige him if I would answer that. He cared not particularly in what way, except that he wished not to offend the writer of the epistle and his friends. "For," said he, "all their votes count, either against me or for me." The next morning I had the pleasure of entering into a correspondence with the gentleman whose name was signed to the fellow's epistle. My first impulse was to decline the job in disgust, but upon second thought I went into the thing as a good joke. "Sir, axin' your pardon, I make bold to write a few lines, being appointed by a committee of fellow citizens, for the purpose of informing myself on a few subjects concerning the next election, of which you are a candidate. That is to say, as follows. What is your opinion of the street-sweeping machines? Are you in favor of raising sweepers' wages to 10 shillings a day? Will you pledge yourself to vote for a law furnishing sweepers with a new broom gratis for nothing? Are you in favor of rainy days being paid for, and men not made to work out in the nasty mud, to the danger of their health? Sir, many of your fellow citizens is deeply interested in your opinions of these vitally important subjects. Please inform us of your views on these subjects at an early day. With great respect, on behalf of the committee, Barney Fox. To be continued. That was Chapter 9 of Life and Adventures of Jack Engle, an Autobiography, in which the reader will find some familiar characters. By Walt Whitman. Read by Frank Blissett.